Good afternoon and welcome to the virtual panel on supporting immigrant communities in COVID-19. My name is Bob Ponecterra. I'm the Executive Director of Liberty's Promise. Liberty's Promise is an organization that works with immigrant youth, helping them learn about American civic life and the community around them. We believe that once they do that and they learn how the system works in this country, they access opportunities for success. They finish high school, they go on to secondary education, and they end up in meaningful employment. Even more importantly, I think it makes them good members of the community and participating and active members of the community. And so that's what we try to do in this organization for our part in helping the American community be what it is. For more information about us, you can always visit us at www.libertiespromise.org. Today, in the face of a growing or a consistent community health crisis, we thought it would be useful to introduce you to and hear the perspectives from representatives of your Maryland elected officials so they can tell you a little bit about what elected officials are doing for the immigrant community in this current situation. And I'd like to start by introducing our panel. I'll start with Valeria Carranza. Valeria serves as Chief of Staff to at-large Montgomery County Council member Evan Glass and handles his legislative work in the Health and Human Services Committee on the County Council. And she's also the lead for homelessness and vulnerable communities. She was most recently one of 5 Latinas in Congress who served as Deputy Chief of Staff and Legislative Director. And she previously served as Executive Director of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Valeria, welcome. Katia Mejia Chavez is from El Salvador and moved to the United States in 2008. She attended Wheaton High School, then American University, and after graduation, she worked for Liberty's Promise as a program officer. She now works for U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen and handles the immigration casework portfolio for Latin America. Katia, great to see you today. Amy Olivo serves as Chief of Staff for Prince George's County Council member Danielle Glados, District 3. Prior to this role, she served or spent most of her career in fundraising, most recently working for the League of Women Voters of the U.S. Amy has served on the Prince George's Community College Board of Trustees for nearly 10 years. She lives in Cheverly with her husband and 2 sons. Amy, welcome. Jeff Samuels came to Senator Chris Van Hollen's office in October 2018, where he works exclusively on immigrant constituent issues. Prior to his service with the senator, Jeff worked in the office of U.S. Representative John Delaney for 5 years, also working on immigration constituent issues. Jeff, welcome today.
Here.
Joshua Thompson currently serves as the Chief of Staff for Baltimore City Council member Zeke Cohen, who represents the city's 1st District. Joshua is a former community organizer and high school chemistry teacher and grew up in northern New York State. Joshua, welcome. I'd also like to welcome everyone listening today and thank you very much for attending. And we're looking forward to seeing some of your questions. We already have quite a few from the audience. I also would like to inform you that WTOP News Radio is listening in today, and we think that's a really good thing, mainly because we want to get this information out to the broadest audience possible. And toward that end, how I will conduct today's session is simply have a series of questions that I will ask the panelists, and then we will get their responses and move on. I would like to inform everyone that all the information today that is recorded and received will be sent to folks who've signed up for the presentation, as well as to the panelists, in an information sheet in English and in Spanish. So you should look forward to seeing that. So as a sort of prefatory question before we get into the resources available, I'd like the panel to say just a few words about the stance of your elected official toward assistance for the immigrant community and why that's important. Valeria, let me start with you.
Great, thank you, Bob, and thank you for the kind introduction. So as you mentioned, my name is Valeria Carranza, and I'm the Chief of Staff for Montgomery County Council Member Evan Glass. He is an at-large member, meaning he represents all of Montgomery County, which, as we know, is a very, very diverse county in which 1/3 of our residents are foreign-born. And in it, we have some of the most diverse cities across the nation. And so our office motto is "We rise by lifting others." As such, one of our office's efforts was the COVID-19 Rent Relief Program, which was a $2 million rental assistance fund. This funding is being used to ensure homeless and eviction prevention, as well as a rent subsidy for Montgomery County residents. This rent subsidy goes for up to 3 months, and it is regardless of immigration status. And so that's a very key component, which is very, very different from other programs out there. For those listening, you can call 240-777-0311 if you're interested in learning more about that $2 million rental assistance fund that our office led.
Okay, Mr. Samuels.
Yes, hi. Well, the senator has worked hard for protections for immigrants in the last coronavirus package that passed through the House and Senate. He's recently signed letters extending work authorizations for TPS and DACA recipients.
Okay, I'm afraid that we didn't hear most of that. If you could come a little closer to the mic, that might be helpful.
Okay. How's that, better?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, the senator has fought for protections for immigrants in the last coronavirus package that passed through the House and Senate. And he's recently signed letters to the administration extending work authorizations for immigrants under TPS and DACA.
Okay, and Katya, okay.
And of course, we have a dedicated team in the office that deals with immigration in terms of, interfacing with USCIS, the embassies, consulates, and the National Visa Center.
Great, thank you. Katya, do you have something to add to that?
I think he pretty much said it all. Jeff said it all. But right now our office is assisting a lot of our constituents with unemployment issues because there's a lot going on, and I'm pretty sure the other offices have heard of this issue. So that's also one thing that we're working on right now.
Okay, Amy, how about Prince George's County?
Sure, thanks so much. Prince George's County Councilmember Danielle Glaros represents District 3, which stretches in the west from University Park and College Park to the east, including New Carrollton, Lanham, and Glendale. Our Riverdale area, our greater Riverdale area is Councilmember Glaros likes to brag that she thinks it's one of the most diverse council districts, certainly in Prince George's County, if not really in the state of Maryland. We have, of course, a large African-American population, a very large Hispanic population, and we're also home to some very large apartment complexes where Lutheran Social Services and the IRC have resettled refugees over the past years. Many of those students attend some of the schools that Liberty's Promise is part of. Councilmember Glaros is incredibly concerned with the needs of our immigrant families, and we've been working really hard over this COVID-19 pandemic, especially on food resources for them, which I'm sure we'll have the chance to talk about later as well.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson.
Yes, thank you. So again, my name is Joshua Thompson. I'm the Chief of Staff for Baltimore City Council Member Zeke Cohen, and Baltimore's first district has a significant immigrant and Latinx population that is growing, most significant in Baltimore City. And the council member has made it a focus, even prior to the COVID-19 crisis, of paying attention to our most vulnerable communities and neighbors. And so our Latinx and immigrant communities have been kind of disproportionately not receiving the same level of services in the past in Baltimore City as other residents. And so it's been a focus of ours to be proactive in identifying with the community members their particular needs and then helping meet those needs. But also we do a lot of work, not just to kind of do things for our community, but we also engage with them in education efforts and community power building in order to kind of build strong, robust community groups within our district. So we work very closely with Latinx and immigrant service providers. We have a phenomenal community group in Southeast Baltimore called Comité Latino de Baltimore. And that is a phenomenal organization that is doing great work on the ground. And we have a close relationship with them, as well as a member of our team who's bilingual, fluent in Spanish, who is actually a small business owner in the neighborhood of Highlandtown, which has a large Latinx population. And so he is on the ground, not as much nowadays, keeping distance, but he's been very closely involved in our communities to, again, just make sure that we pay very close attention to the needs that arise and can meet them.
Excellent. Before I ask the next question, a number of folks have been asking for that Montgomery County rental assistance number. So I'm going to repeat it here, and please do keep in mind that we will be sending this information out to everyone who signed up for the webinar today. However, that number is 240-777-0311. So, Valeria, thank you for that. Next question. So generally speaking, what are local governments doing to be helpful to this population in the current situation? Joshua, why don't you just keep going?
Sure. So a big focus right now is around food access in not just Southeast Baltimore, but across Baltimore City. But we've been working very closely again with nonprofit organizations within Southeast Baltimore that specifically serve our Latinx and immigrant communities to try to obtain additional funding to set up additional food distribution efforts. So we just 3 weeks ago were able to partner with a group of those organizations to be able to access additional food, mobilize a set of volunteers to then package that food. And then we've got volunteers who are then delivering them to members of our Latinx community throughout Southeast Baltimore. And so food access is a big initiative at the moment in Southeast Baltimore. The council member has also been pushing for increased access to devices and reliable internet access, as our schools are all remote at this time. And again, members of our Latinx and immigrant communities have had less access to those types of devices and internet access. So the council member was worked closely with our mayor and council president in accessing funds from a Baltimore Children and Youth Fund that the city had established a few years ago, able to access $3 million of funds in order to purchase additional devices and also purchase equipment to try to improve internet access across the city.
Great, thank you. Amy.
Thanks. The Prince George's County government as a whole has several initiatives. One is our hourly support for hourly workers, and that is a $200 Visa gift card that is open to anyone, regardless of their immigration status, who was an hourly worker. We're prioritizing those who made $19 or less. There's an application online at Prince George's, employpg.com for that funding. The county also created a rental assistance fund, and unfortunately that opened and closed fairly quickly because of the limited funding and then the large amount of applications that of course came in really quickly. In Council District 3, like in Baltimore, we are focusing quite a bit on getting food out to our residents. We have Councilmember Glaros right away on I want to say April 6th, because we just realized it was a month on May 6th. On April 6th, she coordinated a call with nonprofit partners, government, and faith leaders, civic leaders in the Greater Riverdale area. And we started an initiative called Greater Riverdale Cares. And so through that work, we are currently getting approximately 7,500 meals every week into our community, and approximately 60,000 pounds of fresh produce or shelf-stable goods into the community. That has been incredible. We've also worked with partners who are sewing masks that we've been able to distribute, especially to our lower income folks, a lot of our immigrant families, to help make sure that they all have cloth reusable masks that they can wash and wear again to keep their family safe. We've also partnered with an organization called Housing Initiative Partnership to help provide bilingual counseling on the eviction prohibitions, and to help people really understand kind of their new financial reality with some financial coaching and whatnot. But again, probably like Joshua mentioned in Baltimore, the food is really the biggest thing that we're working to get out to folks. And that's a combination of having people come to sites to pick up meals or food. And it's we're also delivering food. So when I mentioned earlier about our apartment complex that has a large number of refugees, we actually partnered. We were able to get some of the Jose Andres World Central Kitchen meals. We partnered with the International Rescue Committee to understand where those folks lived in this apartment complex. And then a church actually stepped in. And so twice a week, we're delivering meals to those newly arrived refugee families straight to their door. We had a wonderful exchange where one of the families said it was the best meal they'd had in America yet. And so that was really heartwarming. And of course, we all know how much Jose Andres has immigrants in his heart as well. So we were hoping that story maybe got back to him.
Great, terrific. Valeria?
Okay, I'm actually taking notes here so we can steal some ideas from the other jurisdictions. But essentially the big buckets are food, housing, transportation, unemployment, and healthcare. So I'll start with food. As a whole, the council approved more than $700,000 in COVID food relief funding, of which $300,000 was set aside for culturally appropriate food. Again, being a very diverse county, we think that having that culturally appropriate component is very important. And our office is actually teaming up with a few organizations to do food deliveries. One that is more imminent is on May 30th at 11 a.m. at Highland Elementary School in Wheaton. So we are partnering with Up to Us, and we will be handing out fresh produce. So that's actually breaking news. We haven't put the graphic and information out there, so note that down on your calendars. So that's May 30th, 11 a.m., Highland Elementary School. And for anything I mentioned, please feel free to email our office, councilmember.class@montgomerycountymd.gov. So that's the food component. Housing component, I mentioned the $2 million in rental assistance. So just to go a little bit deeper on that, that's essentially for folks that are at 40% of the area median income and who are paying more than 50% of their income towards rent. Again, 240-777-0311. As far as transportation, all of our buses are currently free. And an initiative that our office worked on was also to ensure that cloth masks were available for free on all county buses. So that program just started about 2 weeks ago, and we've found it to be quite successful. Unemployment. So the council appropriated $5 million to create the Emergency Assistance Relief Program. As we know, the state and federal governments have restrictions as it relates to immigrant and undocumented communities. And so the county created its own program that is designed to provide direct cash assistance the way that the unemployment insurance benefit would work. And so this program provides grants of up to $1,450 for those who make less than 50% of the federal poverty line. And you all guessed it, the phone number is the same, 240-777-0311. And we've, like Prince George's County, also pushed for there to be a multilingual hotline component to ensure that, that these services are available in various languages. For healthcare, we've received a number of inquiries from people, especially in apartment buildings, renters saying, I don't have access to a car, and a lot of the testing sites are drive-through only. What can I do? And so we've partnered with the state's emergency response team to get healthcare out directly to people's apartments and to get tested. So the EMS does an initial healthcare assessment, and if warranted, they issue a test right in people's buildings. So that's been a great collaboration between the county and the state programs.
Great, excellent, thank you. That phone number is going to be ringing off the hook, you know. So that's a good thing. So I was going to ask one question, but I think I'm going to ask another one because it's come up a couple of times in sort of the material that you all have just articulated. Question for everybody: what would your advice be then for community members who are somehow concerned that coming forward for help would adversely affect, would put them somehow in the crosshairs of immigration authorities? Katya.
Oh, hi. I think, I mean, since we don't work directly with what's it called, the constituents when we provide services, I think I will defer the question to the other local representatives.
Yeah, great. Joshua, let's start with you again.
Sure. So we in Councilmember Cohen's office and across the city of Baltimore want to make sure that we get out the message to folks in our immigrant communities that the resources that are being available, particularly the food distribution efforts, the device access, these are being made available to all residents regardless of status. And so folks should feel comfortable to come forward to access those resources. But we know that it can be more helpful to have those messages come from trusted community members. So we work again very closely with some of our faith institutions in Southeast Baltimore, with some of our community civic leaders to just help make sure that this information is getting out and that people know that they can access these resources. They are available. So I'd say the partnerships with some of the civic organizations, our faith institutions, has been key to making sure that folks have access to food, to the devices, and that there's a level of comfort there for them.
Great, thank you. Amy.
Yeah, I would echo a lot again of what Josh said, especially with our food resources. At all of the food distribution sites taking place, certainly in Council District 3, there is no ID required. You're not required to share your name. There's in fact no information whatsoever. If you walk up or if you drive up and you know you're there to pick up food, food will be given to you, of course, until it runs out. And that is the case at all of our sites across the board. We're very grateful that Capital Area Food Bank, who previously did ask for some demographic information, is no longer doing so. And that is one, to make sure that people who need the food come up and get it. And also because it helps allow for the social distancing that's needed at these food distributions. All of our Prince George's County, we have numerous sites. It's over 40 sites across the county where our Prince George's County Public Schools is also giving out meals to students. I really have tried to get the word out and emphasize that those meals are for any child ages 2 to 18. They won't ask, are you homeschooled? They won't ask, are you private schooled? For a 2-year-old, they won't even ask, are you in school yet? They're for any child ages 2 to 18 who comes to those sites, can take home meals. The only time that they'll ever ask is if a parent comes or an adult comes without a child with them. And then they will ask for a report card or a student ID number. But otherwise, again, all of our food distributions are, no questions are asked. And I agree as well about really the trusted community partners. We are so grateful to two of our Catholic churches in our district, our food distribution locations. We know that those are very trusted community partners. And I hope that they're both very successful food distributions. And I think that part of that is because people are used to coming to their church and they know that that's a safe place for them. And so when we're giving out food in the parking lot of the churches, it feels very accessible and very safe.
Great. Thank you. Valeria.
So Bob, this question actually came up quite a bit. A couple weeks ago, our office co-hosted a renters town hall with Councilmember Jawando. And the question that was asked then was, my landlord is threatening to evict me because of my immigration status. Is that legal? And we said, absolutely not. Please contact the county's Department of Housing and Community Affairs and/or our office. Another resource would be the county's non-emergency police line. But again, we understand the sensitivities with calling even a county police non-emergency line. And so as my colleagues from both Prince George's and Baltimore mentioned, working with community partners has been absolutely crucial. Some of those organizations in our district, of course, there's Liberty's Promise, but there's also CASA, the Chinese Culture and Community Services Center, and they're providing meal deliveries to their members. The Yad Yehuda of Greater Washington has kosher meals that they're providing, as well as the Montgomery County Muslim Foundation and the Islamic Community Center of Potomac, and they're delivering meals for Ramadan. And so either work with those organizations or call our office if you need any help. But you know, again, as my colleagues mentioned, we are not asking about immigration status. I will say the one exception is with the renter assistance program, we ask about social security numbers just to figure out if you would qualify for some of the federal or state programs that we have, or if you'd qualify for this program. So that's the only reason that question is asked. But again, completely understand the sensitivities, especially with public charge and other threats like that in the background. But Montgomery County and the council and our office are here to help regardless of status.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you all for that overview and that assurance for folks in the community that really need it. Next question. I'm going to throw it again to the senator's office to get some commentary from the organizations that you know of that are really being particularly helpful to the immigrant community at this time, both the Latino community and perhaps the African community. What's folks doing some notable work, noteworthy work? Who are those folks and how can folks reach out to them? We'll start with Katya.
Hi. So I guess from what I've seen around, and maybe this is kind of just like a personal observation, because I do have families, you know, who are mixed status, and I think one of the helpful resources that I've heard that the community is using, it's their county's website. I think especially I know from Montgomery County and Prince George's County, they're pretty good about putting the updates and the resources for the community out there. I mean, you're all doing an incredible job. So I think from my interaction with some of the constituents, I think that's like their main, where they're getting their information from. So that's what I've seen. Great,
thank you, Jeff.
And, excuse me, and you kind of have to, you know, we approach it a little bit differently from our friends at the local level. Much of what Kathy and I deal with in the office are immigrants who are having issues with USCIS, you know, with their green card applications, with their work authorization cards. You know, things are stalled. And they come to us for assistance, and we help out a great deal in that regard. In terms of some of the policy issues that our colleagues here are talking about, we don't get involved too much in that in terms of Kathy and We're kind of like resource people to our constituents who are coming in who need somebody to break through the red tape at the federal level with immigration issues.
Are you finding that, well, then to ask, are you finding you're busier now, or are more people coming your way because of the current crisis? Is it the same, or because of the social distancing, so folks don't come to your office or don't contact you?
Well, I mean, I think that, I mean, I've been doing this now for about 7 years here and then previously with Congressman Delaney. I mean, it's always busy. It's a different busy now. I mean, the last, I guess, since, since the COVID outbreak, many U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents were stranded abroad, across the globe. And we had to work with, the families, the constituents abroad, the embassies, the repatriation task force to bring people home. So it's been very, very busy. I would say just within the last 2 weeks, it's dialed back a bit. I think as most citizens and legal permanent residents returned home, I believe the State Department flew, it was just hundreds of flights across the globe to bring folks home. But it is, so now it's transitioning a little bit back to the more normal USCIS issues where people they need to work, but they don't have the work permit, and it's been bogged down, and we're getting in that. In some cases, I recently have expedites for individuals in the field who are working in the healthcare industry who are making contributions but need the renewals. So we do a lot of that kind of thing.
Terrific. Thank you. It's a needed work for sure. Let me turn back to sort of local level, ladies and gentlemen, and again, perhaps starting Valeria again, and your dog, I guess. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the organizations that are, or whatever entities they are, governmental, non-governmental, private, in Montgomery County that are particularly providing particularly important services to the immigrant community right now?
Yeah, sorry, my dog will start barking unless I have him on here. So he's now a panelist too. So I previously mentioned some of the organizations like CASA and the Chinese Cultural Center. Catholic Charities is another one. And I have a spreadsheet of about 3 pages worth of various organizations, nonprofits from throughout Montgomery County that are working with various diasporas. And so my recommendation would be, if folks are looking for, again, culturally competent organizations, please contact our office and we can help sync you up. That would probably be the fastest way to do that.
Great, thank you. Amy?
Sure. We like in Councilmember Glass's office, we have just really, it's been phenomenal to work with so many partners. There are small blessings here and there throughout this whole pandemic, and one of them is just the way that folks and nonprofits and individuals have stepped up in incredible ways. But I thought I'd give a quick shout out to a couple who I think are doing really exceptional work. Liberty's Promise, of course. Thank you for this. I think that goes without saying. The Latin American Youth Center, which in, I think, Montgomery and DC is referred to as the Maryland Multicultural Youth Center. LAYC, MMYC is really doing excellent work, especially in our Riverdale area. They have been providing kind of telephone counseling and mental health checks. They're also continuing with their GED classes, and they've really helped get some food out there with grocery deliveries, diapers, which are a very large need, and formula. Also, we're finding to be a very large need that they're really able to help with. We have 2 food distributors, Seed, Sewing Empowerment and Economic Development, and then Christian Life Center, which had been giving out food Seed had been giving out food once a week, and Christian Life Center had been giving out food twice a month pre-pandemic, and now each have just dramatically increased the quantity and frequency of them giving out their food. And then also just note the Greater Washington Community Foundation has really done really, quickly mobilized resources through their COVID-19 grant funding. And it's been really great to work with them, either directly or through other partners that they have funded with their grants. And World Central Kitchen has been phenomenal. And the Washington Nationals, many of you may know, the Washington Nationals opened up their stadium kitchens to World Central Kitchen and Jose Andres, and we're pumping out, I want to say up to 50,000 meals a day into our region. They've been absolutely phenomenal. And the Washington Nationals and Greater Washington Community Foundation also partnered to bring a nonprofit to the DMV called Get Shift Done. And this organization pays out of work restaurant employees to work for food distribution and food nonprofits. And that's been wonderful as well, because we've actually been able to hire, in quotes, because we're not paying them, but the money is coming through the Greater Washington Community Foundation, but out of work restaurant workers are getting paid to come and help us at some of our food distribution sites, which has been really great, especially as, many of the volunteers who have traditionally been at these food bank sites are often older, and some of the more vulnerable folks that we don't really want to be out there exposed at the moment due to the virus.
Great, that's some great stuff. Joshua.
So I mentioned a few of the organizations in Southeast Baltimore that have been really stepping up when it comes to the food access efforts. And so we have, again, a local community association called El Comité Latino de Baltimore, mostly made up of Latinx women in the Southeast Baltimore area from a number of different neighborhoods in our district, that have been partnering with an organization, Centro Sol, from Johns Hopkins University, as well as the Southeast Community Development Corporation, along with some of our faith institutions in Southeast Baltimore, in order to come up with the new delivery efforts in around the Highlandtown, Patterson Park, Canton, Brewers Hill neighborhoods. So they have been just excellent partners that we've worked on before, but I feel like the crisis has really solidified those partnerships even more. It has strengthened them, which is one positive thing that has come out of this. And I have to say our state representatives as well. So our state reps from Maryland District 46 have been phenomenal as well in supporting some of the food access efforts. We've also been partnering when it comes to access to technology devices and reliable internet access with the Baltimore Digital Equity Coalition. So those are a number of different organizations that have really stepped up. And I'll also say World Central Kitchen, which has opened up a recent set of food distribution sites in Baltimore, has also been a phenomenal partner, a very much needed partner at this time. And so we're very appreciative of the efforts of that organization as well.
Terrific, thank you. So we've got a number of questions that have come in from folks who are in the watching us on YouTube at the moment. So we're going to delve into a couple of those, and these are sort of questions really for anyone. The first one is sort of I thought was a very interesting one. Beyond the immediate relief support that's currently in place, what kind of initiatives or policies or resources are being explored and established to assist micro small business, and in particularly in the U.S. African immigrant communities, to adjust their business model and thrive in the post-COVID economy? I'll let you dwell on that for a minute. Jeff's got his mic on, so maybe he'd like to start.
I'll jump in. That's a really that's a tough question. It's a great question. One of the things that as I'm on these various calls with partners, we often talk about is what can we do that will both help the immediate needs of people right now in crisis, while also using these new resources and new partnerships to lay the sustainability for the future. So I think that's an awesome question about businesses, because I think things are clearly changing, and we don't even know what they'll be like in 6 months, let alone, if things will look different in 2 years, or if we'll just kind of go back to where we were. But I would recommend that a lot of the small business support opportunities that did exist pre-COVID-19 do exist now and are there to help coach you. So we have in Maryland, across the state, we have Small Business Development Center locations. And I'm sure that they're doing kind of online and telephone counseling now. In Prince George's County, we have our Economic Development Corporation. I know that Montgomery County has similar, just slightly different name, and I imagine Baltimore does as well. And then I know also I'd recommend our community colleges. I wear a different hat outside of being Danielle's chief of staff, that I am on the board of trustees for our Prince George's Community College. And I can't recommend enough our community colleges for those, small business and entrepreneurship trainings and certifications. Now's a great time to go back to school and get a certificate or take a couple classes that could help you think through how you're going to start a new business and start a new business that can be successful in this new world that we have.
Great. Valeria, to add to that?
Yeah, so to tackle, great question, and to tackle it in both the short term and long term. I know this question was more concentrated on long term, but short term, the county council passed a $20 million appropriation to, again, aid small businesses. The council took action about 2 weeks into the governor's orders to close the different operations throughout the state. And so those grants were made available. They're called FEG grants. We've also passed a supplemental for teleworking grants. So that's the more immediate. As far as businesses for the future and exploring various policies, the county as a whole has established various task forces, including a commerce one, as well as government operations one, which Councilmember Glass is a part of. And that's something that we're trying to figure out. And I think that's probably why you heard the pause in all of our faces, right? Because that's the $1 million question that we're trying to figure out, both as a county, but I think also as a country, what businesses look like, and even what government looks like. And so I will put a pin on the real answer to that question, because I think it's something that we need to continue exploring. If whoever asked that question has thoughts, please reach out to our office. We'd love to hear directly from people who are being impacted, because that's how you shape the best policies, right? Is hearing directly from people who are the most impacted.
Sure. Joshua, any thoughts from Baltimore?
Sure. So I'll add in Baltimore that any business that is grappling with that question, both of the immediate urgent need, as well as where do we go from here? What is business going to look like in the recovery? That they reach out to staff in the Baltimore Development Corporation, and they can, of course, contact Councilmember Cohen's office to get connected with specific representatives for the Southeast Baltimore area. But the Baltimore Development Corporation is currently tasked with putting together the plans for how Baltimore is going to reopen specific businesses when appropriate and when safe. But again, this is a resource that had been available in the past, and I think is the crisis has just brought the resources that the BDC offers to the forefront. And we've got some excellent representatives there who will take calls from small businesses and just engage with them, not only around the grants, loans, and assistance programs that are currently available, but also to strategize with them and consider how do we how do we move forward? How do I operate my business in this new space where I need to make sure there's proper social distancing between people, that people have the appropriate sanitizing measures being taken, that cloth face masks are available. So again, all this is to say that we are not yet at the point that many of these businesses are able to reopen, but it would be good for those businesses to get in contact with staff at the Baltimore Development Corporation to start putting those plans in place in preparation for when some of our places like restaurants can begin reopening some of their operations.
Terrific. We also have a sort of a number of questions related to rental assistance, which I think you guys answered. But another question generally in a broader sense is healthcare. What medical resources are available to families without health insurance? Is testing available to undocumented families, and things of this nature? Valeria? Oh,
Yeah,
Amy, you wanted to go. I'm sorry. Going back and forth. Amy, go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
My fault.
So one, testing absolutely is available, and I think I can speak across the entire state. So testing absolutely is available no matter your immigration status. The Maryland healthcare program has extended their enrollment, and so if you are a citizen, you can sign up now for the Maryland healthcare system. I know that we are looking at, hopefully in our upcoming budget, which the council will pass in the next couple weeks, extending additional funding to our federally qualified health centers, which in Prince George's County do provide health care for the majority of our residents without documentation. And so those are available, but I really want to emphasize that that COVID-19 testing is open to everyone, regardless of immigration status. And just recently, additional sites have opened. I understand, at least in Prince George's County, there are a few CVSs now that are doing drive-through sites. We continue to operate our site at the Prince George's County Hospital Center in Cheverly. We had initially opened a testing site at FedEx Field that was moved to the Prince George's County Hospital at Cheverly just due to some wind issues actually with the tents there. But again, testing is open to anyone.
Valeria.
Okay. So same, testing's open to anyone. And as I mentioned earlier, so I was working with Action in Montgomery. They identified a few families in apartment buildings who did not have insurance. They were undocumented. And our office put them in touch with the state's response team. So they were able to get EMS out there directly to their apartment, and they were able to get testing. Something else that the county has launched is a multilingual hotline to call and get assessed through a primary care provider through the county. And so again, call the same number, that 311 number, to get connected. A few organizations, just off the top of my head here, Montgomery Cares, Primary Care Coalition, and Healthcare for the Homeless are a few that offer health insurance more broadly for folks who might be undocumented and uninsured.
Thank you. Joshua.
Yes, so the Baltimore City Health Department has on their website a list of primary care clinics that are currently accessible to those who may be uninsured. So we would encourage folks to take a look at those resources. We can send over a link as well, so that can be included in some of the follow-up documentation that's provided. But those clinics are available. A few of them operate. We've got the Healthcare for the Homeless to help serve some of our individuals experiencing homelessness in Baltimore, and an organization that I mentioned before, Central Soul from Johns Hopkins, is another one of those institutions that will help out with individuals who may be uninsured.
All right, we have a question now that one of my colleagues will read from the Spanish speaking audience. Laura, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your answers so far. So we have a few Spanish questions. I'll ask them in Spanish, and then I'll say them in English after. You can answer in whatever language you feel comfortable with, and then we'll just translate the answer for the audience. So how can I ask for assistance, and what type of assistances are available for our community? So, ¿cómo puedo pedir ayuda? ¿Y qué tipos de ayuda existen para nuestra comunidad? And for that, you can do just general help if somebody needs. We already talked about rental assistance and food assistance, but if there's any other type of assistance that you think would be beneficial for the immigrant community, please go ahead and just tell us some of that. If you want to start, just go ahead and just unmute yourself and go ahead and answer.
And I can answer in Spanish, so real quick. So, muchas gracias por esa pregunta. La pregunta es, ¿qué tipo de asistencia tienen en el condado? Bueno, para mí es para el condado de Montgomery. Y lo que voy a decir es de que deben llamar el número 240-777-0311. Y ahí, si necesitan asistencia con vivienda, con comida, con aseguranza, o también asistencia directa para pagar sus biles, lo que necesiten, llamen ese número. También pueden mandar un correo electrónico a nuestra oficina. El correo electrónico es councilmember.glass@montgomerycountymd.gov, y ahí tenemos, nuestro equipo es bilingüe, así que nos puede contactar y nosotros podemos conectarlo con el servicio que necesita en el condado.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything to add?
So in Prince George's County, in general, folks can, if they're in the county, they can dial 211 for any social service assistance. And our Councilmember Glaros, we've created an online form in English and Spanish for folks to let us know what kind of assistance they need. And then depending if they fill it out in English or Spanish, someone who speaks that language will call from our office to follow up with them. And based on that form, people filling it out, we've been able to let people know about rental assistance or food distribution locations. We've also had several families who have individuals who have tested positive for COVID-19, and we've had groceries and other supplies delivered to their homes. So I've included that link on the side. It's case sensitive, so I don't want to say it out loud, but it's on the side so you all can share later. But calling 211 will also access any county social services.
Ok, para los que hablan español en la audiencia, lo que acaba de decir Amy Olivo es que si llaman al 211, ese va a ser un número en el que pueden conseguir asistencia de cualquier tipo. Y también en el condado, es el condado de Prince George's específicamente, y también con Glaros han creado un formulario online en el que les pueden preguntar qué tipo de asistencia necesitan, y dependiendo de si responden ustedes en español o en inglés, les van a poder contactar en el idioma que necesiten, y así les han ayudado con la renta, la comida, o si de pronto tienen la enfermedad de COVID-19, les pueden mandar también, digamos, comida a la casa por medio de domicilio. Thank you. If anybody else wants to answer, please feel free to do so, and if not, we can move on to the next question.
So I wanted to add that in Baltimore City, although the 311 system typically is used to report issues with city services or requests for city services, it has been expanded to help address questions that come up related to COVID-19 and some of the issues that people are experiencing. So residents in Baltimore can call 311. There is an option for Spanish language in the 311 system. And I would also encourage people to reach out to the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, which has really served as a point agency at this time to just help assist individuals in our immigrant communities. And they have been translating documents into multiple languages that have come out from the Mayor's Office. So 311 and the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs.
Oh, and I would also, voy a decir en español. So, si alguna persona necesita ayuda con alguna agencia federal, también pueden contactar a su senador, el senador Christian Holland, y el número es 301-545 1500-301-545-1500. Como ya dije, si tienen si necesitan alguna asistencia con alguna agencia federal, pueden contactarnos. Gracias.
Ok, gracias. Joshua Thompson, para los que hablan español de nuevo, dijo que el número que pueden contactar para la ciudad de Baltimore es 311, y ellos antes era para cualquier servicio de ayuda que necesitaba el condado con la ciudad, pero para COVID han expandido esa línea, entonces pueden llamar para pedir otros tipos de ayuda. Y también esa línea tiene una opción para los que hablan español, entonces pueden llamar ahí tranquilos. También la oficina del Major para los inmigrantes es otra oficina que ha ayudado también mucho, y ellos también tienen muchos documentos que han traducido al español. Es un poquito difícil explicarlo en español, entonces eso va a estar dentro de la lista de recursos que se van a mandar después de que termine este panel.
Great, great. Thank you, Laura. Our time is about up, ladies and gentlemen, and I have one final question for you, and which I really would like to hear the reflections of all the panel. Given the current situation, which has been full of pressure and has been very difficult for folks, and it's been a struggle. I wonder if you might say just a few words about how you've seen the community respond to this, and what you've taken from that, and how generally our community has responded to this crisis.
So I can offer some closing thoughts there. I think we've had during this crisis more constituents reach out to us, small business owners, constituents that are in need of food and diapers and other emergency assistance. So our casework has gone up significantly, and I'm very proud of our team. We have at least 3 people who are getting constituent calls on their personal cell phones. And one of them had a call from a constituent who was from Senegal. She had 2 kids, had to send her 2 kids back to Senegal because she couldn't afford to keep raising them here during this crisis. She was also pregnant at the time, and while a team member of mine, David, was working with her, she actually had a miscarriage because of all the financial stress. And so we know that the mental health and financial stresses that are incumbent on people, especially during this time, are significant. And so, I offer a few thoughts there. One, we need to, again, rise by lifting others and look out for each other. And also make sure that we're tapping into the various resources out there. So beyond the direct assistance, there are also mental health services that the county is offering. Every Mind has a phone line as well as a text message service where people can text them and get counseling that way. And then, of course, our county's crises health line is also available. But, bottom line, we all need to look out for each other. And that's what it all comes down to, which is why I'm proud of both my team, and also so proud that as a county and as a state, we've all coalesced and come together on behalf of so many constituents that are in need. And on the flip side of that, also so many constituents, especially within the immigrant community, who are so resilient. And so, I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. Amy?
Yeah, I think that I think resilience is a great word to use. We've seen people just really, people and organizations step up and pivot their work in ways that are just truly astounding. From residents, there's a group that formed Route 1 Mask Match, and people who can sew are sewing, people who can't sew but who have fabric or elastic or can buy fabric or elastic are donating it. They're making hundreds and hundreds of masks to give out to vulnerable residents of our our area to the 3D printing lab at the University of Maryland that pivoted and is making face shields that we can that are getting out to hospitals and to our food service providers who kind of have to be a little closer to the public than maybe we really want them to help keep them safe, to organizations that I mentioned before who were giving out X amount of food and now are giving out 10X amount of food. And some of our most wonderful volunteers are people who are struggling themselves. And they may need that box of food, but they want to come and help and be part of giving out the other 500 boxes of food. And they're giving of their time. And it's just, it's almost overwhelming. It is overwhelming, I think, to think of the volume of need. I think, like Councilmember Glass's office, we just every single day have people coming to us who are in such desperate need, and it's very difficult. But then to kind of be able to step back and look at the bigger picture of the people who are stepping up and giving back, and in the ways that we're being able to help, it's really a lot. And I think our society is really, we've gone beyond ourselves, and I think it's something we can all be really proud of.
Great, thank you. Joshua, perspective from Baltimore.
So Baltimore is known as a city of neighborhoods. And so Councilmember Cohen and the rest of our team have been incredibly impressed by the way neighbors have stepped up to help out others. And so just in the days after this crisis began in Baltimore, our office had organized a volunteer sign-up form for individuals who wanted to know, what can I do? Because we were getting calls and emails from people asking, how can I help? How can I help the neighbors on my block? How can I help those in need throughout our district? We've had over 500 people sign up to volunteer, and we've been able to meet the needs of organizations from Meals on Wheels of Central Maryland to, again, some of the food distribution efforts taking place in the neighborhoods of Highlandtown and Patterson Park. And also just want to say, Councilmember recognized that we're also going to deal with a mental health crisis. And so we've had those volunteers sign up to participate in a program that our office helped organize with a group of other stakeholders called the Baltimore Neighbors Network, in which there are volunteers who are making calls to some of our older adults in Southeast Baltimore to just check in and see how they're doing, see what resources they may need. So I would encourage, again, anyone who is interested in volunteering or accessing those services through the Baltimore Neighbors Network, you can go to baltimoreneighborsnetwork.org to access that. The site is also accessible in Spanish as well.
Great. Final thoughts from the Senator's office on how we, the people, have responded. I'd love to hear it.
Well, I mean, I think on a more global scale, as Amy was saying, it was kind of overwhelming, this whole surreal episode. And what I've kind of found most gratifying is, we get many, many calls coming into the office from family and friends of individuals who are stranded abroad. And, they just want their family and their friends back. And with cursory information, we're able to get in touch with the embassy, the consulate, and the consular staff and the foreign service officers around the globe have stepped up in a fashion that is just really amazing. When I speak to them, I know they're overwhelmed. They tell me they're overwhelmed with what's going on around the globe with COVID. But yet they're always calm, they're measured. What do you need? How can we help? Give us the number. And so often, they immediately get in touch with the stranded traveler abroad. And we start the ball rolling to get them home. Through repatriation flights, whatnot. But working with the foreign service officers, and then when I touch base with our constituents who are abroad, and they are just so happy to hear a voice from back home, and also so appreciative that the consular staff has touched base with them and is working to get them home. I mean, it's kind of like, there's no place like home kind of thing. They just want to get back home, and we've been able to do it. So it's been a very kind of overwhelming experience again, but I think for our end, it's worked out very well, and constantly getting the phone calls and the emails and the letters. Hey, I just got home. I'm so happy. Thanks for helping. And really, I have to give just a huge shout out to the rest of our team in the office who has pitched in on this, as well as, again, the foreign service officers overseas. They have been absolutely tremendous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Katya, the last word's going to you.
Yeah, so kind of just echoing what everyone said, I just want to say thank you for all the amazing work the panelists are doing on the ground to serve the immigrant community and pretty much every constituent in their county. Thank you for doing that. And I mean, as a person who's been involved with Liberty's Promise on a personal note, I know that, I'm just, want to thank Liberty's Promise for having this space and for supporting those immigrant youth that are, currently, that are not going to be able to walk the stage, or that are home, learning from home. It's just the work you do is tremendous. So thank you so much for putting, opportunities like this to share the resources with the community.
Thank you all, and we really appreciate it. I still don't know how to do that clap thing I just can't do it, but I would clap for you all. We really appreciate your time and your willingness to join this panel. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone, I hope we answered your questions. If we did not, again, please be advised that we will be putting together an information sheet in English and in Spanish, and we will distribute that to folks who signed up for the webinar. If for some reason you feel like that's not going to work, you can please contact us at any time at info@libertiespromise.org. That's LIBERTYS promise.org. And we will get you that information. Thank you so much. Thank you to folks listening. Thank you to our panelists. We really appreciate the work that you've done. And as far as I'm concerned and what we've done here, what we do at Liberty's Promise to help young people, learn about this country, learn about how it works. As far as what I see is that, what's happened here, you folks are the Republic. You are the Republic. What you do makes the Republic stand. And for that, we thank you. We thank your elected officials. Go back and tell them I said that. It's a great thing, and it helps make things work. So even when there are obstacles in the way, you still make things work. And for that, we thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot. And then we'll hope to see you again soon.
Great. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, bye now.
Bye.